What if I told you the Atlanta Falcons could sign one of the NFL's best pass rushers, but at a price that could shake the foundation of the franchise? What if I told you that, at the same time, the team's most expensive quarterback might not even start this season? That's not just speculation. That's the scenario ESPN's Bill Barnwell has put on the table, and it has the potential to change everything. I'll tell you all about it in detail, but first, be sure to hit that like button so you don't get the latest. Let's start with the blockbuster trade that has Falcons fans excited. Barnwell's latest mock draft isn't just another projection of which rookie the team might select. It's a masterpiece of trades, and right at the center of it, Micah Parsons. Yep, you heard that right. The three-time All-Pro defensive star for the Dallas Cowboys could be headed to Atlanta in a bold three-team deal involving the Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns. Here's how it would work. The Cowboys would receive Cleveland's number 2 overall pick, giving them a chance to draft one of the draft's top quarterbacks. And they would also pick up the Falcons' number 15 overall selection. The Browns would move down to number 12 and also pick up Atlanta's 2026 first-rounder, along with another future selection from Dallas. And in return, the Falcons would get Parsons, a generational talent who has racked up 12 or more sacks in each of his 3 NFL seasons. But let's be real, this isn't a simple deal. The Falcons would be giving up 2 first-round picks, an aggressive move for a team still trying to build its identity under Raheem Morris. Plus, Atlanta is already $13 million over the salary cap. How would they pay Parsons? Barnwell suggests the team could move money, especially when Kirk Cousins' inevitable departure happens. Yes, Cousins, who signed a massive 4-year, $180 million deal, is now being openly talked about as a backup quarterback. We'll get to that confusion in a second. The comparison Barnwell makes is striking. He likens this potential trade to when the Chicago Bears landed Khalil Mack from the Raiders back in 2018. But here's the kicker. Parsons is younger than Mack was at the time and has already been more productive. This isn't just a move for now. This is a move that could define the Falcons' defense for the next decade. Atlanta hasn't had a defender with 12-plus sacks in a season since Vic Beasley in 2016. Imagine a player who could change that instantly. But is this trade even realistic? Cowboys Vice President Stephen Jones insists that Dallas feels good about Parsons' contract talks, meaning a deal like this might never materialize. But if Parsons does become available, Atlanta will have a huge decision to make. Would they give up multiple first-round picks and stretch their already tight cap space for a player of his caliber? Or would they risk drafting another pass rusher, hoping he turns into the kind of force Parsons already is? And speaking of cap space, the Falcons are already making moves to create more flexibility. The team recently restructured Jesse Bates' contract, converting $11.25 million of his salary into a signing bonus. That move alone freed up $7.5 million, bringing Atlanta's cap space to around $6.8 million. A necessary step, but is it a sign that another big move is coming? Could it be setting up for a trade like the one Barnwell proposed? But if that's not enough drama for you, let's talk about Kirk Cousins. The quarterback situation in Atlanta has taken a wild turn, and Morris isn't hiding the fact that the team now sees Cousins as a backup. Yes, the same Kirk Cousins who was handed $90 million in guaranteed money just a year ago. The same quarterback who was supposed to be the key to finally stabilizing Atlanta's offense. The writing was already on the wall when the Falcons drafted Michael Penix Jr. just 6 weeks after signing Cousins, but now, it's all but official. Morris is doubling down, saying the team feels very strongly about Cousins as their backup quarterback. Publicly, the team is handling this as professionally as possible, but behind the scenes, there's no doubt this is a tricky situation. Cousins' contract included a no-trade clause, meaning he has control over whether he stays or goes. But will he really want to stay in Atlanta just to hold a clipboard for Penix? He's made it clear he still wants to be a starter, and if that opportunity comes elsewhere, both he and the Falcons might have to make a tough decision. This is where things get messy. Cousins struggled late last season, throwing just 1 touchdown and 9 interceptions over his final 5 starts. He later claimed injuries were part of the problem, but Morris wasn't exactly rushing to back him up on that. The Falcons only listed him on the injury report once for elbow and shoulder issues, and at the time, Cousins dismissed it as a clerical error. Now, after a disastrous finish to the season, his future in Atlanta is uncertain at best. Morris has made one thing clear: the Falcons aren't holding Cousins hostage. If the right trade offer comes along, they'll explore it. But will there be a team willing to take on his contract? That remains to be seen. In the meantime, Cousins isn't expected to participate in voluntary OTAs, and you can bet Falcons fans will be watching closely to see how this unfolds. So let's recap. The Falcons are at the center of one of the wildest trade proposals in recent memory, possibly giving up 2 first-round picks for a defensive superstar. They've restructured contracts to free up cap space, possibly hinting at more moves to come. And their $180 million quarterback is now officially seen as a backup, setting up one of the biggest offseason storylines in the NFL. Now, I want to hear from you. Would you be willing to give up 2 first-round picks for Micah Parsons? Do you think Kirk Cousins should stay in Atlanta as a backup, or should the Falcons move on? Drop your thoughts in the comments. But let's take this a step further, because if the Falcons do go all in on Micah Parsons, what does that really mean for the franchise? This is a team that, for years, has struggled to find a true game-changing pass rusher. Think about it, Atlanta has spent multiple draft picks on edge rushers, but none have turned into long-term stars. Takk McKinley? A bust. Vic Beasley? He had one elite season and then disappeared. The Falcons have lacked a dominant force on defense for almost a decade, and that's why this trade is so tempting. Parsons is different. He's not just a talented player, he's already a superstar. Since entering the league, he's been a nightmare for offensive linemen, posting 12 or more sacks in all 3 of his NFL seasons. And it's not just about the sacks. His ability to disrupt plays, force fumbles, and pressure quarterbacks at an elite level is something Atlanta hasn't had since the days of John Abraham. Now, let's talk about the financial side of things. The Falcons are already over the cap by $13 million. Adding Parsons wouldn't just cost draft picks, it would require some serious cap gymnastics. This is where things get interesting. One of the easiest ways to clear space? Moving on from Kirk Cousins. And here's where everything starts to connect. The Falcons keeping Cousins past the 5th day of the league year triggered a $10 million roster bonus for 2026. But let's be real, Cousins isn't in Atlanta's long-term plans. If the Falcons find a trade partner, they could free up space and potentially recoup some assets, maybe even regaining a pick they'd lose in a Parsons trade. But that's easier said than done. Cousins holds a no-trade clause, meaning he has complete control over where he goes. If he doesn't want to leave Atlanta, he doesn't have to. The only way this works is if Cousins himself decides he wants a fresh start, and let's be honest, why wouldn't he? He's not going to settle for being a backup. The challenge? Finding a trade partner. Cousins will only waive his no-trade clause for the right situation. Should they find a way to move Kirk Cousins to create more cap space? Or should they stick with what they have and hope they can develop their own star pass rusher? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're as locked in on this Falcons offseason as we are, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more updates, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. Go Falcons!